resources that had to be deployed to ensure that nobody was injured throughout the process of all this time is significant. And I'm struck by the juxtaposition of these two people up there on the spire as there's just all these citizens below just walking on the streets of New York, seemingly with no idea what's going on just above them.
Yeah, and your timing was perfect there because the NYPD helicopter came through. You've got an officer that's now clearly out there. They would require at least 2 to 3 helicopters is typically the stance of the NYPD because they're going to want to have a unit that can spot, a close unit for support for the officers at a minimum. The NYPD has a drone unit as well, and then the emergency services officers who hopefully won't have to put themselves in harm's way. But that's what we're looking at here. It's obviously something that we hope ends well, but obviously hope that these individuals learn a lesson from this because if they had slipped or if something had happened, to your point, the people on the street, some innocent person before a perimeter could be set up, could be killed. And this is going to disrupt traffic and people's ability to do business at that area for a significant period of time. They're going to have to block these streets if they're not blocked already.
The proposal we didn't need on the top of the Empire State Building.
They had a flag that they unfurled, a proposal, and apparently a live stream. All of this going on, it started, by the way, at 12:04. So this has only been about 35 or 40 minutes of activity at the top of the Empire State Building, as it does now appear, Vicky, that the two individuals that were behind this are now at a safer place, if not fully back to safety, as you're seeing law enforcement buzzing around the top of the spire.
Literally in 3 different helicopters. Let's hope no more resources are wasted and no one is hurt. We are going to continue to follow this breaking news. Keep it right here. You're watching NBC News Daily.
Welcome back to News Daily. We have been tracking some breaking news here that's been going on for about the last 45 minutes or so when 2 people appeared to scale the top of the Empire State Building and finally Vicky, have started to make their way down to more solid ground. But it's been a bizarre sequence of events.
Absolutely. I'm Vicky Wynn along here with Sam Brock, and we've got Tom Winter in studio with us as we believe these folks are coming down after being at the top of the Empire State Building, the antenna there. It appears they are now descending inside that cage-like structure. What we think we witnessed was potentially a proposal. At one point, one of the individuals got down on his knee. There was a selfie stick with what appeared to be a camera on the end of it. The other person, the woman, seems like she was taking some photos of her ring finger where she got the engagement ring. All of this, a stunt that was apparently live streamed. Is that right, Tom Winter?
There was a link to it now, a link to a live stream. Is the Empire State Building's own camera. So they linked to that, but they did have a social media post. And I'm not going to put out the social media name because to do this and to put, themselves and everybody else at so much danger, I'll leave that up to others to decide. But these two individuals did post an image from the top there that is very clearly matches, the description matches. It does appear to be the couple. That's all part of the law enforcement investigation at this point. As I mentioned prior to them climbing down this way, this is the safest way to get down. This is set up for the tower crews to be able to get to work. You're looking at, I believe that is a TV transmitter, that gray circular column there on the left. On the right are part of the FM antennas. This facility, since One World Trade Center was built, has become a little bit more of a backup than a primary. But after 9/11, then the North Tower, One World Trade Center, was the primary transmission site in New York City. Then everything switched to Empire State as well as Alpine, New Jersey, to be able to get those signals out after those towers fell following that terrorist attack. And then the Empire State Building kind of got a little bit more of a backseat again once One World Trade Center went up and the transmission facilities there, which are able to be modernized and hold more equipment than the base of this, which is where they will probably head into next. So it does appear that they were able to get access through some part of where individuals would come up through the transmission area. That'll be critical to see here as they approach this landing. Will they then just kind of continue through the access point that I believe, if memory serves correctly, is below this. So there will be enormous questions now for the Empire State Building, its security team, as well as the various radio and television ownership that is there. To be able to access. If I remember correctly, NBC is now over at One World Trade Center. So that's just a sense of what's there. But a number of major radio stations are transmitting. Presumably some of these signals are live. That is a radiation risk to this couple. But that is something that'll, again, all be part of that. Just hopefully they get down safely and nobody else gets hurt, I think is the big concern at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you described, a stunning breach of security. And it comes with the backdrop of one of the biggest days of the year in recent memory coming up on July 4th, right? You have Sail 250. You have all these dignitaries in town, thousands upon thousands of tourists, and the NYPD had just been holding a security briefing.
I was in the room.
Which you attended to try to explain what the profile is going to look like in the days ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, Sail 250, NBC is broadcasting that. We've got the fireworks celebration on July 4th. So there are huge events here in New York City. Oh, by the way, an event at Madison Square Garden,
Taylor Swift's
wedding
potential wedding to Travis Kelce.
Of another couple. So that is going to be something that that the NYPD was focused on. I just got into the subway underneath City Hall, and our colleague Jonathan Deans called me and said, I said, hey, John, I'm on the subway. I'll catch you when I get back to the building. He said, 10 seconds, they're climbing the antenna. They're climbing the antenna. So that's how this all came about.
Yeah, and it's been about 12:04 is when we believe that they were first spotted at the very top. Sam, you said it's 1,450 feet above the ground?
1,554 feet. That's the top of the spire. The observatory, which is just below them, is 86 floors above the ground, right? And so just watching this breathtaking sequence, terrifying, as you have two people that appeared to be tethered to nothing, unfurling a flag which said, when the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace. We did not know, Vicky, what their intention was. And so now that it appears it was a proposal and they're back down in the building,
a little bit of a relief, right?
There's some relief, but this has just been a lot to absorb. We are going to follow this, obviously, and have much more news for you on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
are up there right now at Empire State Building. I think this couple will probably come down to a lot more followers on Instagram and also matching handcuffs for both of them. They do anticipate them to be charged at this point. All indications from law enforcement officials to us is that these social media posts that we are seeing are real. Obviously, in this day and age, we always think about AI. Is this a hoax? We don't want to get duped. We do try to do the diligence, but to the best of our ability, the Instagram that does belong to this couple, particularly the woman that's involved in this, that it is in fact her account and these images are in fact real. That is the current belief in law enforcement. As their investigation continues, there will be an identification of these two already made, as you can imagine, based off of that, or at least what they believe. That image on the right, you're looking at a truck where the lights are kind of flashing vertically as the camera now pans over. That's all part of emergency services unit. They're on the clock 24/7, 365. All of them have to be equipped and be able to climb. In order to graduate from ESU, you have to climb the Brooklyn Bridge. I've been there when they've done that.
Wow.
And so they have to climb that up. Now, they will have the harnesses, the clips, the everything, and a whole team put into play. They routinely practice. Sometimes you may not see them in the city, but they are out there practicing. You know, just a couple of years ago, right around July 4th, a woman climbed the Statue of Liberty, and they had to go up and rescue her and get her off of there. And so they hung ropes all off of the Statue of Liberty, and they also had several helicopters, one that's close to provide close information to the team, and then a second helicopter that provides them kind of a larger view of it. The NYPD has a number of helicopters, so the ability to deploy multiple helicopters to something like this and still service the calls that come in throughout the city for everything else that goes on in this three-ring circus we live in.
Tom, I know you've got two phones working for our viewers who aren't aware. You've got multiple sources who are keeping you updated with the very latest information on the investigation, what officers are thinking. At this point, are they waiting for the couple to come down on their own so as not to risk more lives? I know the ESU, as you mentioned, is very well trained, but at this point, they're waiting for them to come down to apprehend them. I think my biggest question is what can be done, number one, to shore up security so this doesn't happen again at the Empire State Building, and number two, to deter people, because based on this Instagram account, it does look like they have done this in various other cities atop various other buildings around the world, if these photos and videos are to be believed. And you just wonder, is it just because it's a misdemeanor or it's just minor that, you know, this major inconvenience can be caused? It can be a dangerous situation for people on the ground, for our first responders, and then there's not really a deterrent component to this.
Yeah, Vicki, that's a huge component of this. It is something that creates issues at construction sites. It's something that creates issues at major landmarks. It presents a security risk for sure. There appears to be a risk-reward calculation for these influencers of like, you know, jail time versus the massive amount of followers and how I monetize that. And so I think what you're going to see here is the police department and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office really see how much can they throw at individuals like this. On top of the obvious security issue, we had a zoomed-in shot on the right-hand side before where you saw a member of the NYPD with a cell phone to his ear and in a suit on. That's Detective Tony Pissarro of the NYPD. So he'll be there to coordinate some sort of a press briefing on the ground. You saw supervisors, the officers in white shirts. Those are supervisors also with emergency services unit. So they have everybody there that they need. I think at this point, to get to your first question, they're going to want to see if this couple is willing to come down and just get inside on their own. Yeah. That's going to be best for everybody. That's going to be safest for them. That's going to be safest for the officers and anybody that's around. They're in a much better spot than they were 35, 40 minutes ago when I first came down here, and they were literally just with a flag out, holding on with presumably no clips or harnesses to the side of that building. So that is something that is was very concerning because you still had members of the public there. Look, you're seeing the NYPD. They've cleared the sidewalk. Those are all members of the NYPD that you see walking there. But all of those individuals are going to be, are going to be part of the police response. The good news is they're in a better spot now where their odds of radically falling off of this building are almost zero. Hopefully they can just get them inside.
To Vicki's earlier point, it certainly seems like this was performative when you look at the social media account of one of the people that linked to the live stream. It talks about pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable in art and neo-artists exploring identity. But let's just say, Tom, because we didn't know what their intent is, and frankly, these two individuals are not in handcuffs yet, so we don't know what their intent could be. Is there a sweep for explosives or anything else that could be dangerous? I mean, you just think about where we are contextually right now with all these people coming into New York City.
I think the motivations of this couple are pretty clear, but yeah, they're going to take a hard look at everything that they have on them. They're going to take a look at all the bags that we saw, and, you know, is there anything on their person that they want to be concerned about? This appears to be much more for clout than for terror, but obviously it raises concerns. And, you know, given the fact that this will be a part of the July 4th celebration, something obviously that they're going to be focused on in the days ahead. Definitely some planning went into this. This does not feel like, to me, a couple that just showed up, that were part of the, I mean, they have bags on them, things that may not be allowed to be up there if you're part of the observatory tour. And the way that they've presumably have accessed this point tells me that there was definitely some planning that occurred. That'll be part of the investigation, too. Did anybody help them?
Right.
Did anybody tell them this is where you need to go?
Inside.
Or maybe you should open this hatch where there's normally massive padlocks to the roof. That padlock might be open. So that'll be a bit of a question mark and a bit of concern as well.
All right.
Tom, we really appreciate all the insight here. Stand by for a second. We're going to bring in now former NYPD Lieutenant Darren Porcher. Lieutenant Porcher, thanks so much. What can you tell us, I guess, when you look at this broad brushstrokes, the security breach that just happened at the Empire State Building, does it shock you? Is this something that needs to be immediately examined? What are your first takeaways from seeing this all play out?
Well, from the first component, as it relates to the response, you have the emergency service unit truck 1 that responded, which is, I want to say it's maybe roughly a mile away. And what's unique about the members of ESU truck 1 is they do a lot of the rope work. When I say the rope work, meaning oftentimes we have individuals that are dangling from scaffolds in Midtown Manhattan, but ESU truck 1 is the best in the business as it relates to getting to people that are on these high surfaces on these skyscrapers. Now we fast forward to the scenario that we have in play. How do they effectively get to this individual, as the two individuals, as quickly and as safely as possible? One, the Empire State Building is a high-value target. We have a series of various high-value targets in the lower, or I want to say we refer to this as the Midtown Quadrant area, such as Madison Square Garden, the Chrysler Building, or this building in particular, which is the Empire State Building. So we have a tremendous understanding or knowledge of the intricacies of the Empire State Building. One of the challenges that, I shouldn't say a challenge, but one of the things that the police department is going to do is, upon taking these two individuals into custody, they're going to look into their social media, they're going to look into their cell phones, they're going to look into their computers to assess if there was a possible a collaborator that was part of this.
Darren, we really appreciate that additional context and history here. I want to bring Tom Winter back in. Tom, you've just gotten some confirmation, and you can describe some of the images that were taken at the top of the Empire State Building by this couple. Well,
the posts are coming in. We are not describing the social media account at this time. It is a part of the police investigation, but I think it might be a little bit difficult to fake some of this stuff. There are photos that are being posted. We mentioned the selfie stick that we saw earlier when they were on that gray platform that was above this one. That's up there in the sky. You see the individual down on one knee. There is an engagement ring. There's a couple holding hands. And so this has now been posted. It appears that this couple is are sending these images to another person who is then posting it, because there's some things that are coming off of clearly screen grabbed images from various news helicopters that might be up there. But there are photos up there that presumably only this couple could take. The skyline matches, the haze in the air. I think it's pretty clear that this is the couple that's responsible for this. And that's something the police investigate. It's that right there where we just saw the individual who's down on his knee, and then that stick. You see the two lights there for the top of the Empire State Building on the right side of that steel grating there, that parapet. There's appears to be a selfie stick there. That's where it seems that they gathered some of these images from, and you see there she's capturing the engagement ring on her hand, and that appears to be the post that I just described to you.
If you're law enforcement and you're watching this all unfold, at one point you decide, okay, I guess I'm not going to try to intervene and attach myself to this antenna to try to in some way affect what this couple is doing, and it's just innocuous, or how do you even make that determination?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try to engage in a dialogue with these two. The fact that they're posting engagement photos would lead you not to believe that these are master terrorists at this point. But that's all part of the calculation that they'll do. They'll want to talk to them, engage with them, you know, get a sense of who are we actually dealing with here, and then make your risk adjustments. On the other hand, you know, they don't want them spending all day up there and have a situation where not only themselves, but others could be hurt. So it's just kind of a continual calculation.
Darren, we got about 40 seconds left. Can I bring you back in? I'm just curious what kind of criminal charges you think this couple could be facing. Do we still have Darren with us?
You're going to see, yes, you're going to see a reckless endangerment felony because an individual can identify there's a perceived risk if one of them fall off and hit someone that's on the ground that can cause a serious physical injury or death. So we're going to have the reckless endangerment felony. In addition to that, we're going to have a trespass as well as a disorderly conduct.
All right, and they should be coming down momentarily. Darren Porcher with the NYPD, Tom Winter, thank you both. We're going to go to break, but we will continue to follow this story. We'll be right back. You're watching.
One of the kids' birthdays, and they were literally going on their way up to do the tour, to go to the observatory deck, and they were turned away. They started seeing officers running by them. They said, everyone's got to get down. So, you know, he said, you know, because of those two people, they were telling people exactly what was going on, but obviously they were turned away, and they then had to exit the building. So they didn't get, you know, the full, complete experience, obviously, but the kid was saying, you know, maybe this is a bit of a taste of New York, just kind of the crazy things that can happen. Of course, everyone here that I'm talking to were like, okay, I mean, I hope they're okay, but some of these workers, you know, they're a little frustrated. It's, you know, 90 degrees. They want to go back inside. They got work to get done, and everyone's kind of in a holding pattern outside of the couple of entrances that I have been on the 33rd side. What I'm also seeing, I'll tell you, is that the police are putting up, you know, a taped off area on 33rd as well. So there's a lot of officers that are kind of guarding a section of the sidewalk. So is that where they will be brought down to and walked out to? Not sure, but there's definitely some action on a section of the sidewalk that they are taping off with police officers all around and a police car as well.
Yeah, Justin, to your point, they're not just using city services, but it's interrupting the lives of New Yorkers, people who are trying to get to work on this very hot day, and then people who are visiting here. And perhaps this was their only opportunity to see this. So this is having some different kinds of consequences. It's not just a concern about their safety. Thank you, Jess, for your perspective. Let's check in with Chief Investigative Reporter Jonathan Deans in the newsroom, who's been following this along with us. John, do you have some new information?
Yeah, an NYPD spokesman now says the two climbers are in custody. They are under arrest. They will be processed, as Terry Monahan was explaining. So the incident appears to be coming to an end with them now in custody at the Empire State Building, and they will be taken to an area precinct for processing before the Manhattan District Attorney's office moves forward with whatever charges they decide to file. So we're waiting to hear from the Manhattan DA's office, but an NYPD spokesman moments ago saying the two individuals are now in custody.
So this is the best case scenario ending to this saga that unfolded here for over an hour, John. These two individuals precariously at the top of this spire, now thankfully in police custody on solid ground.
Yes, it appears that they are in custody. We await their departure from the Empire State Building to be taken to the local precinct again. These two appear to have done documentaries and social media postings of past incidents like this around the globe, around the country, and this appears to be the latest iteration. The NYPD not yet releasing the names, confirming that it's these two so-called skywalkers, but that information should be released officially soon, and we will learn more about the two of them and how they were able to get around security at the Empire State Building after the Empire State security team and the NYPD go over some of the surveillance videos and speak with some of the security teams as to how they were able to evade security and gain access to what is supposed to be a secure location.
John, what's interesting to me is we're learning that these two are artists, that they pulled off stunts similar to this in the past. But to your knowledge, from what you were gathering, you were saying that they don't appear to have a criminal past here.
Yeah, my colleague Courtney Copenhagen did a search of their names and all of the court records, and there's nothing in the immediate area here that indicates they've tried a stunt like this in the past. But there are previous incidents, what appears to be in Chicago and overseas, of course, numerous postings on social media that appear to show that they've done this numerous times. But again, NYPD spokesperson, as we reported a few minutes ago, saying both of them are both suspects, both climbers are now in custody, and we await word on what the charges will be filed against them.
Yeah, in this case, police know exactly who the perpetrators are as they waited for them to get down safely and to get them into custody. But it also appears that these two protesters, these two artists, are providing the evidence for them by documenting their stunts. John.
Well, it's going to be a pretty open and shut case. The question is, you know, how severe the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is going to treat this, whether they're going to accept it that it's art and it's a stunt, or was it terribly reckless and they put their own lives and the lives of others in danger as they try to pull off this stunt. So the question will be what kind of accountability the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is going to handle this matter with. And again, based on some of the social media postings, on top of it being a stunt, again, there was the embrace, there was the appearance of a possible proposal on the deck up there after they had posted that banner. So again, we wait to learn more about exactly why they chose the Empire State Building this July 4th week and what their purpose was, whether it was personal, whether it was part of their social media postings that they have done repeatedly in the past, and or whether there was any sort of engagement, as Chopper 4 was speaking about early on during this incident. But again, the two are in custody, and we wait to learn more about what the charges will be shortly. Back to you.
John, thank you. We're about to also learn more about the DA's definition of art here shortly. Joining us now is our Erica Byfield, who is live there on the ground just outside of the Empire State Building. And Erica, you're speaking with an employee who works at the Empire State Building.
That's right, Gilma. We were talking to her just seconds ago. I'm going to introduce you here to Sydney. She works at the Centric branch. She was telling me that she works here on the 4th floor of this building. And as you can imagine, a lot of people are out here trying to just kind of get a glimpse from this corner where we're standing to understand what's happening here. So I was asking her just moments ago, how challenging would it be to get upstairs where they were?
It'd probably be very hard. I mean, there's security at like every single doorway every day that like greets you and they see your ID badges, and as well you have to scan in anyway to get through the turnstiles. So like any elevator access is definitely really hard to get to. And then all the other doors are ticketed with people who like are really watching. So I don't know how. At first I thought they tried to like scale the outside of the building, but we definitely would have heard about that sooner.
Yeah, what about the stairs? How easy is it to access the stairs?
Oh, not very easy. It's still like turnstile access to get into those stairwell hallways.
You were telling me everyone inside is watching the news. They're kind of glued to what's happening. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I was hearing a lot of chatter about it for a while, and then you would like watch as different areas of the office started putting it on their computers and watching.
So they're now just opening the street here behind us because, as we heard Jonathan Dienst reporting, these two people are currently in custody. So we're seeing it all live here unfold. Sydney, what are your managers saying? Is the Empire staff, building management, saying anything about what's happening here today?
A little bit. They told us about which doors were closed down, but there's not too much going on of that sort.
Quite a day?
What a day! So exciting!
All right, well, thank you again, Sydney. She's actually worked here in this building for about a month, so she says she's new to this facility, but as you can tell, she's saying that it's pretty hard to get anywhere inside this building, so everyone's kind of baffled as to how they got up there, and of course the NYPD will be looking into all of that. But as you can see here behind me, the street has just reopened. You can see media moving forward, members of the public moving forward, so we have teams on the other side of the street. We'll get a better understanding of the scene over there on 33rd Street just shortly. We'll send it back to you.
Erica, while we have you there, we can see that street reopening, but you've been talking to people down there. Talk to us about the interruption, not just to the employees, but possibly the people who were trying to get into that building to get a rare opportunity to be on the deck, take some photos with their families. Are you hearing any stories like that?
Yeah, we are, Gilma. A lot of people, as you know, this is an iconic spot. They wanted to be here to take in everything that New York City has to offer, and so many of them obviously were planning on doing this today. And I can tell you that we actually parked our vehicle near the door where the observation tickets are sold, and that's the entrance that you go into if you want to go upstairs. We saw the staff there allowing people to come inside the facility. So we don't know if they were able to eventually get on those elevators. If you've been here before, you know that long ride upstairs. We don't know if they were able to do that, but they did not shut down the outside of the facility, and they allowed people inside. And as you heard there just from Sydney, she was saying that the employees were instructed that the building was technically still open. They just were restricted as to which doors that they could come in. We've talked to a lot of other people who are New Yorkers and those who aren't, and they wanted to be here just to kind of stand at this corner where we were and peer upstairs, peer into the sky to see if you can see anything. I can tell you from our vantage point, you could not, and so that is why everyone had their phones out there watching the news coverage, because they wanted to be up to date on everything that was going on above. Gilma?
Yeah, only in New York, but an ordinary day for New Yorkers as well. Erica, thank you. Let's check back in with Jonathan Deans. John, we see that the streets are reopening there. Yet another indication that this thing could be finally wrapping up.
NYPD putting out a statement. The full statement as of now is on Wednesday, July 1st at approximately noon. 2 unknown individuals were observed on the antenna of the Empire State Building located at 20 West 34th Street within the confines of the Midtown South Precinct. The NYPD report statement goes on. NYPD's Emergency Services Unit responded. 2 individuals were taken into custody without incident. There are no reported injuries. Charges are pending, and the investigation remains ongoing. A short time ago, we did get video of the 2 suspects being driven away in a police van, which was just fed into our newsroom a short time ago, and they are being taken from in that van. There you see the image. And they were driven from there, we believe, to the Midtown South Precinct for processing. We reached out to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and they say they are awaiting first the NYPD to file the arrest charges, and then we will hear from the District Attorney's Office as to how they plan to proceed with this matter. But that's the van where we are told the 2 suspects, the 2 climbers, were put into custody at the Empire State Building and taken away, presumably, to the Midtown South Precinct, a short distance away, for processing on whatever criminal charges the NYPD decides to file against them, and then it'll be on the Manhattan District Attorney's Office on how to proceed.
And John, it's worth noting, despite how lighthearted the protester artist message appeared to be, a message about love, this certainly utilized a lot of city emergency personnel. It was a very serious situation, not just a smile and nod kind of situation. So many people could have been in danger, including those 2 artists, but also NYPD officials responding to the situation.
The artists, granted, they have done this many times in the past and are presumably expert at climbing structures like this. Nonetheless, it is extremely dangerous and reckless. The NYPD officers having to, July 4th week, extend all these extra resources to respond to a stunt like this, obviously also a matter of concern. Also something that concerned me as I was watching it. They were setting up cameras right on the edge of the platform and the question of whether any wind gust or anything could possibly blow one of those cameras or items off the ledge down to onlookers below. All of this serious concerns, and fortunately they did their stunt. They climbed down. Again, the NYPD saying there are no injuries. Everyone has been taken down safely. But the NYPD obviously treating this seriously, and we await to hear what charges they will file. We have seen stunts like this, not only done by these two climbers in the past. We've seen other stunts like this across this city and in other cities by others. But according to Courtney Copenhagen, our producer who was researching these two, there's no previous incident or criminal incident involving these two in New York previously.
Yeah, the best resolution that officers could have hoped for. 2 people now in custody after a nearly 1.5-hour saga after protesters, artists made their way up to the top of the spire of the Empire State Building. We're going to continue to follow any updates on the News 4 app and NBCNewYork.com. The News Zone will have the latest streaming at 3 o'clock, and we will see you for the news, of course. Now, we now return you to regular programming. Thank you for being with us.
banner when they got to the top of the spire of the Empire State Building.
That duo eventually climbed down the spire and onto a platform where one of the trespassers appeared to propose to the other.
Stranger than fiction. NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter joining us now. We are, I guess, at this point still waiting, Tom, to hear what kind of charges they might face.
That's right. And there's nothing that's going to rush the police department to do this. There are some very basic ones. I mean, certainly trespassing. I'm guessing the Empire State Building did not sign off on this, but obviously that'll be part of the investigation. And then they'll look at all sorts of other charges that they can throw at it. Because, look, this was a very serious incident from a security standpoint and from also the potential to injure others, which, according to an NYPD statement that we just got in, they say that there are no injuries to any other individuals, police, civilians, or this couple, which is obviously the silver lining here, the good news out of all of this. So they'll take some time. They'll look at that. They'll coordinate with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. They got to get the paperwork for the NYPD and then consider the types of charges. You're looking there. That van is where, apparently, according to our station WNBC here in New York, is where the couple was put into. They were put into that van. You can't really see them there. And then were taken to presumably the Midtown South precinct, where they will be interviewed by detectives if they want to give a statement, and then they'll conduct their investigation and go from there. It will take some time. I believe that's the chief of the Special Operations Division that we saw there on the ground, who oversees the people that would have climbed up to get this couple, had that been necessary. So the good news is this ends without anybody getting hurt. This appears to be some sort of a social media stunt, perhaps a promotion for an upcoming show. It's incredibly dangerous, incredibly reckless, and I can tell you that the police department is furious about this because of the potential danger that it posed.
And the fact that it's happening ahead of the 4th of July celebrations,
Right.
the Sail 250 celebration, and the potential wedding of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. The city is on heightened alert already. Let's go ahead and bring in NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro. She's standing by live outside of the Empire State Building. Valerie, do we have a sense of how this couple managed to make it past the private security of the Empire State Building and climb up the spire? Have we heard anything from building management or security at this point?
Vicki, at this point, that is still very unclear. The Empire State Building is more than 100 stories tall, and if you've ever visited the inside, it takes multiple elevators to actually get to the very top observation deck, and from there, there's plenty of security, there's plenty of fencing around, so unclear how they were able to climb the very top antenna that sits at the very, very tip top of the Empire State Building. But you can see police are still here. They do still have a portion of Fifth Avenue closed, even though the couple is now reportedly in custody, according to police. The crowds were here earlier. This happened around lunchtime. Lots of people walking around stopped to take a look. They were looking as far as they could see to the very, very tip top of the building, although, of course, from ground level, it's really, really tough to see all the way up there. But again, at this point, it appears the couple is in custody. The crowds have dissipated at this point. Not to mention, it's an extremely hot day here in New York City, so standing out here for more than a few minutes is very uncomfortable. But again, just one of the wilder things to happen in the city, especially, as you mentioned, during a busy, busy time of year for the NYPD. Vicki?
And Valerie, let me just ask you, the fact that you're able to stand in the middle of the street like that, police had that blocked off as of 15 or 20 minutes ago. Can you walk us through, what the reaction has been on the ground? It was this just bizarre split screen where you had two people tethered to nothing at the top of the Empire State Building and all of these pedestrians just going about their day below them on the streets of Midtown Manhattan. Do people seem shocked at this point? Are they still sort of trying to process this? Describe the mood for us.
Yes, Emin, as you mentioned, there's a lot of pedestrians around here, a lot of traffic. This is Fifth Avenue down the middle of New York City. It is currently closed. Police have it closed off at about 35th Street. 34th runs right here where the Empire State Building is. People had heard that there was somebody on top of the Empire State Building. They weren't sure. They were checking. We asked some people what they thought when they heard there was a proposal at the top of the building. They said that was just crazy. Some people were here visiting from California. They were planning to actually go to the Empire State Building right before this happened. And in the meantime, they decided to just stand across the street and take this all in and watch. There's a gentleman we spoke to who works in the area. This is a busy part of Manhattan. You see a lot of crazy things. He says he's never seen anything quite like this, guys.
Question, Valerie, this is such an only in New York story. Stand by for us. I know it's hot out there. Tom, let me bring you back in because this couple does appear to have over 1 million followers on social media. It appears from their account they're attached to an upcoming documentary about these exact type of high-rise stunts that they perform all over the world. Talk to us about what you're seeing on the account that seems to verify what we all saw unfolding live at the top of the Empire State Building.
Yeah, I think there's little doubt left, and I think the police department is trying to figure out who these individuals actually are. This may not be their actual names, and so that's something that they want to look into versus the names that we see on social media or on these alleged or purported accounts. Yeah, so they've posted images that show the actual engagement ring that appear to come from that selfie stick that we see them adjusting here in this video taken earlier this afternoon, and as well as some images that were taken from news helicopters. So it appears that somebody was posting this for them, but they indicated, because they had sent out an image before or an Instagram story, that an assistant was actually posting this. People obviously commenting on it real time, as you can only imagine, and that these two have done this type of stunt work before. The images look kind of AI, so that was initially why I wasn't quite sure, but this had been passed along to us from people in law enforcement in terms of they're looking at this as potentially being the couple, and so that obviously got everybody's attention. So this all does appear to be part of it, and based on the images that the two posted, particularly the woman who's a member of this couple, it appears that the images are actually authentic.
In this day and age of AI, if you just saw that video, you would think there's no way that's real. But it actually is.
We all watched it.
And so we watched it in real time. Tom, if there are two individuals who have done this over a repeated period of months or years at these famous, iconic places in the world, at some point, wouldn't there be some way to monitor where they're going next? Or how would law enforcement be prepared for something like this?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sam, but I can't tell you how often this happens. I can't tell you how many images I see of people getting into some of these major sites all over the world and climbing to these ridiculous heights and doing these stunts. I can't tell you how many times, and this is something the NYPD has spent a lot of resources on, people try to do a race around Manhattan. They start at one end of the Manhattan, they race around the FDR Drive and up the West Side Highway, trying to beat each other's times, going at incredibly reckless speeds. The NYPD subpoenas those accounts, finds out who the true user is, and then those individuals end up in handcuffs with some very serious charges. So this is something that the NYPD specifically does. Other police departments have done the same type of thing, but a lot of people do this. There are people now that are even taking keys to the subway trains and have moved subway trains from rail yards here in New York City as part of videos that they eventually post online. Talk about a security threat. Right. So really, social media is enticing people to go out and create these images, of course, at great risk, not just to themselves, not just to first responders, but to, if somebody had slipped here, could have killed somebody who was walking there on the street.
Absolutely. I want to bring Valerie Castro back in, who's standing by live outside of the Empire State Building. Valerie, do you have an update in terms of, now that these people have been arrested, taken away in that van, is the Empire State Building going to be back open for business today for all of the visitors who are probably hoping to get a glimpse?
Vicki, right now we don't have word if they will reopen, but I can tell you the road has now reopened. You can see the scene has virtually cleared. Most of the police cars that were here earlier are now gone. Traffic once again moving again here on 5th Avenue, but this investigation is ongoing. So I'm sure police will need to get inside the building, review any sort of surveillance video, and see exactly how this couple or these two people were able to get to the very top of the building and then on top of that antenna at the very tippy top of the building as well. So no word yet on if the Empire State Building will reopen for visitors today, but it is the middle of summer. It's a very popular tourist attraction. As we mentioned earlier, there were people here from California who said that that was in their plans today. At this point, they said they were going to move on and do something else. So unclear if the building will open for visitors again, but as far as the street goes, things are sort of back to normal here. At least traffic is moving again. People moving about their day now that they know that those two people are now in police custody.
Vicki, New York is going to New York.
It truly is. It's the DNA, by the way. Return to normal. What does normal even look like at this point? Our thanks to Valerie and Tom for all that insight. We appreciate it. We're going to continue to follow this story as we get more updates. We are also, though, following other news today. That includes, up next, a woman who lost her father in the Venezuela earthquakes, frantically asking for help recovering his body believed to be buried underneath rubble. The challenges that she and many others face in the aftermath of this humanitarian crisis. That is next.
And a horrific scene in Ohio. Police say 16 children were found inside a home in deplorable conditions. The 4 adults appearing before a judge today facing abuse charges. We will have all the details next. Keep it right here. You're watching NBC News Daily. Four adults now charged with child endangerment after 16 children were found in what officials described as deplorable conditions inside of an Ohio home.
Just some incredibly unnerving details here. Authorities said that several of those kids were in